I had a teacher in 10th grade. He was my English teacher named Ron Cavanaugh. He was one of those mentors. And we had an immediate connection, and I had him through high school, and we became friends afterwards. And his whole perspective was, there's magic, and you need to tap into the magic and make the magic happen. Well, how do you do that? That part's up to you to figure out. But life is magical. You got to go figure out where that magic is. So that was huge. And he was the one that kind of got me to not feel so bad about all the pressure my dad was getting. He was, listen, don't listen to your father. I'm sorry to say it that way, but do what you want to do. I'm like, okay, how do I do it? Yeah. That's up to you.
Welcome back to Journey to June, or welcome to. I'm your host, Wendy Basilico, and, elite mindset coach, stirring the pot of those soulstigators who are curious of what's more and desiring a little more, feeling more alive or feeling stuck. That's what I stir it up in you. And I use this podcast to share the light of people that just do that. And this next guest is like no other. I actually, I met him a month ago. Josie has been taking up guitar, and we found, again, magically, this amazing instructor here in Jupiter. And he is a great musician. He's a great guitar instructor, but really, to me, it's less about the instrument, but more about the human. And Gary Frost, he's local, and he talks a lot about fear, less about like the actual learning of this chords, but like how we are as humans to kind of face that fear that we all have inside of us. So check it out, Gary Frost, and you won't want to miss this one. So Gary's yes. In the house.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome to Journey to June, Gary.
Thank you for having me.
So Gary, I had come in here because I just recently, I knew about you before Christmas, and there was a guy I met at a bar. And
a lot of stories.
A lot of stories.
Way, huh?
Let's start at the bar right here, okay? And everybody was like, Gary, everywhere I go now, your name came up at this one spot because Josie was playing around with the piano, and he was like, "Oh, she should play guitar with Gary."
That's my buddy Jimmy Johnson.
Yes. And then all of a sudden, everybody knows Gary. So obviously, you've been around the Jupiter area for a long time. Give us a little background of what you're doing now in this time of your life.
It's been pretty consistent the last 6 or 7 years. I've been a professional musician here since '94. And I'm playing a lot of different situations. I joke that anyone who's dumb enough to pay me, I'm dumb enough to go play for them. But I've been in a lot of different bands and acoustic groups and duos, trios, do a lot of solo acoustic. But I started teaching about 7 or 8 years ago. And it wasn't something that I intended to do. Mm-hmm. And you probably understand how this works. It's like I got pulled into it. It was almost like I was supposed to be doing it. I fought it. But my friend Christopher and Christopher Maloney owned a studio called Absolute Music Studios. And he wanted me to come in and teach. I mean, he saw it from business, and I've been running open mics forever. And so I had this huge following. And, he saw potential to tap into that following for his business. And I was kicking and screaming. So he goes, tell you what, let me just, one of my guys is gone for a day. Just come sub for the day. And I really enjoyed it. And he goes, listen, you can have a job if you want. I went, nah, I'm not ready. And 6 months later, I finally said yes. And it just took off. It was just one of those things that...
So only 7 years you've been...
I guess it's been longer than that. It's probably... I lost track.
You don't look like... Sorry, Josie just started her guitar lessons, I don't know, a month ago?
Yeah.
And you're like a veteran.
I guess it's been almost 10 years that I've been doing it. Somewhere in that vicinity.
You're really good at it.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, he's let me into the studio. I get my extra chair in there, and I be quiet, I hope.
Well, I've been lucky because I after doing things for so long, I know what people are looking for. I know what it is they're struggling with because I've been there. And so I've just figured out ways of going, okay, well, let's approach it this way. And if it works, we'll approach it another way. But 9 times out of 10, I know what that person's looking for, and I just provide it, or I'll open their eyes to it. I really don't do a whole lot
I
of
love it.
stuff, but there's a lot of what I set the individual up for is mostly self-discovery. Because if I teach you one way and you can't do it like the other guy, that's where the frustration comes in, because we're always comparing ourselves to either what we saw or our heroes, whatever it is. And so my philosophy is that's great, but you got to figure out how to do this on your own and make it sound like you. So there's a line that we all have to cross at some point, and I've read about this 1,000 times when I was coming up. We have to let go of our heroes and all these people we're trying to emulate and become ourselves. Some of us never cross that line. So I try to get the individual to cross that line early. So I want them to develop their style. So there's no one way of doing anything, but you got to figure out what you're doing. And so I can kind of read their minds as I'm watching them work with stuff, and I just point stuff out, and they figure it all out on their own.
So, okay, we're going right into where I wanted to, because
Sure.
the reason because beyond the fact that you're like a local that does amazing work is part of what I want to share, but also when I watch you teach, it's so cool.
Oh, thank you.
And
Appreciate
I'm
the
only
compliment.
done for half-hour lessons. And what I love is when I used to teach golf.
Mhm.
I don't know if I really I mean, I kind of learned from different people, and I
Mhm.
also played late in the game, but the magic was just like coming through me to help that person
Sure.
discover their own. And I see it in you of how you ask questions
Mhm.
and how you don't give too much information. Like,
Right. That's part of the self-discovery. I mean,
yeah,
we have to find out for ourselves.
yeah.
Because I had I don't want to say a teacher, but I was 19 and went out on the road, and I was way too early. I'd only been playing since I was 17, and here I am in this touring rock and roll band playing around the country. We were in a top 40 dance, Hot 100 dance club, playing all the dance clubs around the country in hotels. And now I was way in over my head. So it would frustrate my bandmates because I just didn't understand how to figure it all out in time. I mean, I could definitely do it, but I wasn't very good at it. And so there was always something missing. So I always felt inadequate. And it wasn't until
Mm.
later on when I had somebody just go, "Oh, do it like this. You don't do it like that. No, 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 try it this way." I'm like, "Why didn't anybody tell me that years ago?" And all of a sudden I went, "Oh, I get it.
This is my way.
This is how I have to approach it." And when things started to fall into place, I saw that same situation happening with other people, whether they're in a band or they're just trying to learn on the internet. It's like, I don't understand what they're doing, that kind of thing. So
Mm,
I've been there, but
yeah.
I think making the individual figure that part out on their own is one
Early.
early, but it takes some nudging. So I'm always going to nudge them in a certain direction until the light bulbs start going off.
So, like, pretty intuitive you are. Like,
Yeah, I guess
I would
so.
say.
Yeah, I guess
It's
so.
not like you're learning that from a book. I mean, you
No,
know
but
the music, but that's also an intuitive.
yeah, but there's going into lessons, and we all had piano lessons growing up, and it was the last thing I wanted to do was play what this person was telling me to play. I wanted to play my own thing.
Yeah.
And there's a philosophy that says, well, you don't have to do anything but what you want. Just bang on, let them bang on the piano. They're having fun. They'll figure it out, and it all sort of come together. So I kind of took that philosophy. So first thing I'm going to ask you when you come in is, what do you want to learn? And I'm not going to go, this is what you need to learn, because I'd scare you off.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that start to happen is, I want to learn how to play the song, or I want to learn how to be a lead guitar player, or whatever. So we start working, going in direction. And when they're doing it on their own and they're going, I'm succeeding. The next plateau is, I still don't sound like Eric Clapton. Why? And so we go, well, let's look at what Eric Clapton's doing or whoever, and we'll figure out what we need to do. And that's when you start to pick apart what is lacking. So golf swing.
Mm.
Hey, I can swing. I'm hitting the ball, but I only hit it 75 yards. What do I have to do to hit it 150? Oh, well, let's take a video, or let's look and let's figure out where and you help them in that direction. Then it's up to them.
Yeah.
But the difference is you're allowing them to see what it is that needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
and you're pointing them in that direction. But if they don't see it for themselves, it's
So
never going to happen.
So you're totally. So there's a lot of teachers in any field, but golf for me, that want to tell you this is here, like here's the answer.
Well, it's a template.
Well, it's great. Like, and actually, like some athletes will sit there and like, oh yeah, that's great. But when we leave, we lost because we don't own it.
Yeah.
So, and it's not that we're not trying.
Mhm.
It just over there, I got it, and then like because it didn't come from me discovering that, and then I finally found these, and they're all good teachers. Don't get me wrong, but this one group of girls, they taught, and they would always ask open. That's what I see in you. They always ask open-ended questions and never give the answer. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, always explore. Like, oh, watch. Could you teach me? What do you think? I saw you do it the other day. Like you did played something and kind of modeled something, but let her absorb what you weren't like saying the
Correct.
answer.
Right.
That's what I saw.
Yeah.
And I that's what I love. Like, because I don't think it's an art of teaching that I don't know. Always we're taught to teach this way.
Sure. Well, it's the other aspect of that is, and I'm sure you've experienced, and a lot of people do, is the discovery of, oh, I did it. I mean, that'll drive you. That fuel will drive you for months sometimes. So, there's going to be a point in time. It's like, okay, now where is this going to go? So I tell people, because I host so many open mics, things like that, everybody's got their reason for wanting to play music or to play golf or whatever it is.
But
it doesn't matter.
I have a
a
question about that.
That's gonna change. That'll always evolve.
But do they come knowing what they want?
9 times out of 10, they have an idea in their head what they want to do. I think sports might be a little bit different because, I just can't start playing in golf tournaments right away, right? But you can literally tomorrow, without even know how to play the guitar, go play an open mic.
Really?
So there's a difference.
There is.
It's whether or not the individual wants to. So the question, what do you want to do with music, is going to come up, and that answer will evolve. So what happens is, I just want to learn how to play the guitar. I want to learn how to play my favorite songs. Great. And we go in that direction. I'm doing it. Okay, I'm still not fulfilled. Well, what else do you see you're doing? Have you tried playing with other people? So music needs to be shared.
Sorry, it's not even music. It's just teaching like that. I watch it when they're teaching sport.
Sure.
They're not asking these questions.
No, not at all.
And then they lose the fuel.
Sure.
I just read a stat. I'm sorry to bring up sports.
No, go ahead.
13 years old, 76% of kids, and obviously there's the push of everything, but 76 kids quit. And why is that? Because they're bored. They haven't connected to the reasoning.
Sure.
Okay.
And not everybody's going to get at that. Like,
Yeah.
I had high school kids. I had this one kid from 4th grade, and I guess he's in 10th grade now. He just too much is going on. He decided to drop it. But he never had the drive to go start a band or anything like that. This kid was a monster bass player and just amazing. And he just went for him.
Yeah. And
sports are, so whether or not that comes back later in college, we don't know. But the foundation's there. But again, that's never going to be pushed by me, and it shouldn't be pushed by any other person because your sail is up. Where is it taking you?
Okay.
But until you put your sail up, you don't know where it's going. So that's the encouragement I have for everybody. So where's guitar playing going to take you? Have you tried doing an open mic? No, I'm scared to death of doing that. Well, you're a surgeon and you're afraid to get up to play a song at open mic. I get it. Everybody's got that issue. But the thing that they haven't discovered yet is there's another phase of I can do it. And so a lot of people will go, like open mics, for instance. I'll get a lot of people who come, and I've been doing this for so long, I see it. My eye is on the door all night long. I want to know who's coming and going. And I get a lot of people, I'll see a new face, and they come and they go around the perimeter, and they're standing way in the back. They're just checking it out. And they stay for half an hour, and then they leave. And then the next week, they'll show up maybe a little bit earlier, and they'll be about right in the middle. And then the third week they come, and they might actually strike a conversation, and that's usually when they'll either tap me or I'll tap them. And like they might have the guts, and maybe the next week they'll bring a guitar and they'll try a song. And I can guarantee within a year, that person's going to be in a band. I see it all the time. They just have no idea where this journey is going to take them. But you have to take that step. So there are people that have come in that have never done it before. Like this one young lady came. She's never really played before. She timid and just learning how to do it. And she started getting really good. She started coming in every week. Very quiet. A little while later, this one guy comes in, and he's very loud and boisterous. He's been playing all over the world. He plays punk rock, and he comes in, and, well, they met. And not only did they become a couple, but they're in a band together. It's those kind of things I can't wait to see you in a year, to see where that's what I mean by just put your sail up. Go. You don't know where it's going to take you. You can steer it. That's up to us. But you got to get into the current and see where the current's going to take you, if you're open to it.
So that's your philosophy. I mean, put the sail up and see where the current takes you. See where your own being takes you.
Right, and you can get off at any point. You can get out.
And where does that come from? Were you like that when you were a kid? Like who enabled you to like awaken that in you? Because that's a gift.
There are a lot of things.
All right,
my
I like it.
Here we go. My dad was a surgeon, and he was absolutely brilliant. He'd be the first one to tell you how brilliant he was. He's a great guy. His IQ, they clocked when he was a kid, was 180. So he was this incredible overachiever. He went to college when he was 16, went to medical school, and started his own practice. He was a musician, played every instrument there was. So my house had 2 grand pianos in one room, and violins and trumpets and trombones and bassoons everywhere. And he was always getting them out. And he was a singer too. And he wanted his 3 boys so he could get his barbershop quartet. So when I was 7, it was 9 and 11. He got my 2 brothers and myself singing church hymns. He would arrange 3-part church hymns, and we'd go sing in churches. I learned how to sing harmony that way. And that evolved into barbershop quartetting when I got to be in high school. And so that's where kind of the music itself came from. My mom was a violinist, a piano player, and a singer. Her IQ was 170. None of the 10 kids got that IQ.
10?
Yeah, I'm one of 10. None of us got that smart. 3.
Oh, I'm 3. Out of 6.
Yeah, there you go. The out of 10.
No, out of 10.
Oh,
out of 6.
Oh, out of 6. Okay. So none of us got that smart gene, so that we had to work so hard, and he was an overachiever. So you need to do that. Like when I was 8 and when I was 9, those 2 years, I did 8 different sports in 1 year, both years.
What was his reason?
Well, he was the baseball coach. He was the football coach. He started the track team, and he was an instigator. He was an Eagle Scout, so he's going to go out and get it done. And so he basically single-handedly started this huge youth athletic association in my town, and I was 8 when it started.
What town again?
Bennington, Vermont.
Bennington. Oh, yeah. Drove through it many times.
So it was just one of those overachieving things. So the thing that we experienced was burnout. So, and he couldn't understand why we couldn't do 7 or 8 sports every year, get straight A's, and go to college like he did. Yeah. So the bar was so high, and none of us could keep up.
All 10?
All 10 of us. So we all found our thing. Like we were all athletes, and all of us could sing. And I was actually the only one that was able to pick up an instrument and do something with it. So everybody kind of found their own way, but it wasn't until we grew up and moved out that we went, oh, wait a minute.
Of course.
You pushed us way too hard. Like my oldest brother became a surgeon and worked alongside of him. So it was one of those things. So one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in my life was I didn't get into college.
Yeah.
Huge disappointment from my dad. I'm like, what the heck's wrong with you? I couldn't get into UVM.
I went to UVM. We just talked about that. But I got on the wait list, and then I was I had to walk on lacrosse. Meanwhile, I was recruited to other things. But I get it. Like I felt that way. I didn't break 100,000 on my SATs. I was that
I think I got
person.
700 total.
I was, but then
Greatest nap of my life was during the SATs. But because of that, I went on the road and became a musician. Had I gone to college, none of that would have happened.
So what did you learn? What did you learn about yourself right off the bat? Like,
Well, I learned that I didn't need to listen to my father. And later on in life, when he became envious of the fact that I became a professional musician, he didn't, because that was an option for him. He would call me constantly going, how are the gigs going? How's music? Where you been playing? And he couldn't believe that I had done what I had done. And all of a sudden, the newfound respect came.
did he express that?
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were always on good terms
Great.
from my 20s on. So all those
Okay,
expectations.
so just people listening, because
Yeah.
that my dad was hard. He was actually, everybody loved my dad, but he also was hard on us. Not always saying, "Hey, you did great. I played Division I, 8th in the nation." Didn't, it wasn't like you can do anything. It was like it didn't say it, but maybe get a job, but look for the guy.
Sure.
Like never really said it, but that's what I felt. Doesn't mean did he? I don't know. How did you, like, if you were going to give advice to your older self, a younger self, what advice for anyone listening, like that resonates with this like crossroad of like being parented by good intention,
Good intentions.
total good intention. All of us, of my parents, good intention.
Yep.
But where was I? I was so lost. Like I was completely lost.
Right.
I probably shouldn't have went to UVM, but even because I was just going for sport.
I think that's a party school.
You think there was like actually one guy threw like a toilet out the window. It was. I actually came right after the grandfather class, like
Okay.
right.
Yeah,
So
my brother
it
got
was like
grandfathered in.
Yeah, it was like a miss. They didn't know how to become not drinking at 21 because they were like 18. It was a mix up, but
Yep.
whatever. It was wild. My
Yeah,
freshman year
I'm sure
was
it was.
crazy, but I was lost. So I like sport, great, but I was just doing I was doing. It was probably a blessing. I hear you.
Sure.
Probably a blessing that you didn't go,
Right.
because I had no clue what I wanted to do.
Well, I think that is I'm sorry, all the parents that are listening.
No, sorry. I think it's great to say the truth.
The
of what
line
you
that
feel.
I use is "Do what you love, love what you do," and that's what I would have told myself. So the pressure to go to college, I remember being in 11th grade, just going, I need to go to Williams College. And my buddy's going, you're never going to get in. You're not even, with your grades, you're not even going to go to college. I'm like, no, my dad said. And I wish he didn't put that pressure on me. So personally speaking, all I ask my daughters to do is try it. Just go, because it's a direction. You know, you could wait.
Sale.
You can wait and wait and wait, but go check it out and see if it's for you. If it's not, quit. And one of them went all the way through, and two of them decided to drop out.
So you have 3 girls.
I have 4 daughters.
4 daughters. But to have the safe, somebody who actually gives you that space of to throw the sail up and go and know you're still going to be loved. Like,
sure.
Not to say our parents wouldn't have loved us, but the pressure of, I remember the pressure of like having to like, decide on an education, or, so you really consciously chose to parent them differently.
So that's leading up to the teaching philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I knew what it was like to have that pressure and to start getting Fs in high school when I was a junior. I mean, thank God music came up. I think it was somewhere between my junior and senior year. I decided I'm going to buy myself a guitar, and everything changed. Grades plummeted. I almost didn't graduate, but it was all about the guitar and theater and all that.
Brought you alive.
Brought me alive. So I knew when I didn't get into college, I'm like, well, I guess some academics aren't for me. So I had to figure out something else. And then, it was a rocky road from there, trying to get it all going, trying to learn. But the rest of by the time I got to high school, my focus was, how am I going to be a musician? And I had no idea, and I had to figure it all out on my own. And I had some lucky breaks here and there, but I got to figure it out. So that was my philosophy as far as my kids are concerned. Do what you love what you do. But I think it's more important to know what you don't like to be able to figure out what you do like. So leading that into music, Do you want to play in front of an audience? Do you just want to stay at home and play? Do you want to play with people? That's up to you. And I'm going to be great. I'm never going to go, no, you really need to go play an open mic.
Yeah, but you have to ask those questions, even in golf.
You have to bring it up.
You have to. Why are you playing? Are you playing to be friends with someone? Or because then when you're not feeling like you're doing enough with the instrument, with the golf club, you're clear on why you're doing it.
Sure.
But it's not a question that's
well,
asked
I think that the idea comes up in your head, and I don't know with athletics at that level.
I don't know if it does.
Because of the options that we have. I mean, literally, I could give you a guitar and you could go in an open mic today and sing. I'm sure you could.
Are you sure
but
about that,
I'm sure
Gary?
you could probably. I could grab a golf club and go at the neighborhood golf, sign up for the tournament. It's probably all the same. But somebody said to me, my brother was a really, really good baseball pitcher, and he could sit and throw strikes at the catcher in practice all day long. But who cares until somebody steps up to the plate, right? So that was something that he was always trying to get by. It's like, if that stupid guy didn't hit the ball, I would have thrown strikes all day long. But that stupid batter kept hitting him. So how do you handle that? So to me, with music, it's the same. We can stay home and just play along to whatever we want to do, or we can do something else with it. But that's up to the individual.
It's so funny.
But the options are there, and I'm always going to present options. I'm always going to be going, well, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Come on. You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, that's a gift, though. Because, I mean, you do have to put the little... It's even as what I do now, it's all mindset, because I didn't have that. I help people unwind or rediscover that thing that they ignored.
Sure.
Which happens in life. We maybe get married, or we choose a career, or whatever, or we have kids and we let go of a career, and then you feel so empty inside, and just to put the little go play,
there
explore.
are so many stories. I mean, when I first started getting into, I would host these jam nights, like blues jams, things like that, and all of a sudden I saw these retired guys and girls coming out because I played guitar in college or in high school, and then I went and did the career, and I'm just starting to pick it back up. I have a guy who's 89. Oh. He's one of the top neurosurgeons in the world. He's from England, and he played in college and a little bit, but he moved here and got married, and he was 82 when he came to me. He comes in, he goes, I said, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to pick it back up and see if I can keep playing. So I think it was the third session we got together. He goes, how do you write songs? And I said, well, you can do this, and you can look at it this way, and you can, write about this. And he came back the next week with 3 songs that he had written from beginning to end, and they were quite good. Intelligent guy. He's been a writer his whole life. And so we started focusing on just writing songs. He's 89 now. We've produced 2 full CDs for him. And I'm working on his 3rd one. He's written close to 100 songs, and they're really good songs. I just put one, I made a video for him of a love song that he wrote for his wife. And so, he's an elderly guy, and he's frail, but man, can he write songs. So it's that kind of thing. Or there's another friend of mine, a woman, finally raised all her kids, got them all out, and she turned 65. She goes, I'm going to be the whiskey-drinking, blues-playing grandma. And she came to me for guitar lessons. And 5 years has gone by. She's fronting her own blues band. She's playing acoustic. She's in all these different groups. And she's writing songs. And she did it. So when they came to me, she's like, here's what I'd like to do. I'm like, all right, let's figure it out. How are we going to do this? Let's make a game plan.
I love it.
But I think the difference is, and maybe this is an individual thing, and maybe you've experienced too, being an instructor, but it's not, the things that I'm throwing out there are not blanket statements by any means. I don't know what it is, but maybe my father was able to do this too. Like when he would look in your eye and talk to you, like he coached every kid in my town, and they just thought he was the greatest man ever alive. But he had this gift to where if you talk to him, he was so focused on you, and you were the only person in the universe. And let me hear it. What's going on in your life? Tell me all about it. And he genuinely listened. And I think for some reason I got that from him, to the extent that if I'm speaking to somebody, I'm listening.
Mm.
So I think there's a difference between instructors who love to throw all the information out there and like, you're going to get what you get, or, or the ones who listen. And I'm always feel like I am genuinely interested in the person sitting across from me. And it's honestly, at some point, it's not always about the music.
Mm-mm.
Because when there's a connection, we've had somebody for 2-3 years, these people, and they'll, there are many times, and we never pick up the guitar for an hour because you're just, life is coming up. I got a guy I've been teaching for 4 years, and he lives in Virginia. I've never met him face to face, and we talk and talk and talk about life and
so
kids.
beautiful. Well, I mean, I feel just being a parent of an 11-year-old, moving around the world, that I've moved a lot. And my mom's always like, you always want to know people's stories, or you're always asking questions, because I'm curious.
Yeah.
I genuinely, literally, I want to know. And
you wouldn't be doing this right now if you didn't have that nature.
I love, like, it's just my, like, jam. Like,
sure.
When I'm in here, like, I want to know how you think
Sure.
and why. How did you get here? And, like, how did you put up your sail and have the courage to not go to college and go down there and have a dad that was, doing all that he was doing? And did you feel less? Did you not feel enough? And how did you get your mind to think you're capable?
Sure.
And then how do you parent differently because of that? Like, are you conscious of
God.
that? Like, and when I hear you, I hear, again, that's why how I taught golf.
Sure.
Because people be like, you're not in the simulator.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not, because I was all about them.
Sure.
Like, one guy was, anyway, it was about you. But one guy was this stock market. I mean, he would come to me just so relaxed, and then he'd get over the ball. He's like,
sure.
Oh my
and
gosh. I was like, all right, let's just get the ball out of here and just take a swing. Like, relax. And then the pressure of, like, having to do something, not in front of anybody.
Right.
And in time, because I let him learn about his own being, of being, how it feels to be free and not worry about a ball. He started to hit the ball. And then he goes, 2 years after, he's great. Oh, I just played with my friends. Like, I was horrible. I was like, wow, you're more worried.
Sure.
You're looking outside. Just do your thing.
Just do your thing.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do.
Yeah. And that's why you have to be put in. That's why I like your mic stuff, because you have to be put in those pressures.
Yeah. So we
Not
come in.
have to,
One of the
choose.
things, it takes a lot of courage to go. I've got friends in town who are pros, been playing longer than me, and very humbly will go, hey, you need to help me with something. And I get it. I understand. But to see these individuals, professional musicians, come to me is, number one, humbling. And number two, I get it. And I think what it's boiling down to is fear. So we all have this, I wonder if I can. Oh, I'm too afraid to go find out. So personally speaking, I suffered from low self-esteem. I think you can kind of understand why. Until I was about 30, I suffered badly. And I had moments where I was good, and then moments where I was just kind of debilitated. I couldn't make decisions. It was rough. And when I conquered that.
How did you figure that out?
I had to just. It's a long story, but I just basically one day said, wait a minute, and I uprooted and quit everything that I was doing. I moved back to Florida actually in 1993 from what I was doing. I was living in Tennessee at the time, in Nashville. And I went, everything that I've been doing is not what I want to do. It's one of those things where I got sucked into something and I'm not happy, but I couldn't make the decision to go, I'm miserable. I need to go do something else with my life. And the more my life deteriorated, I had a rock bottom moment and went, I'm out of here, and completely changed everything. But at the same time, I think I've always had the confidence in me. It was just squashed because of fear.
Do you think fear, but also allowing other people's beliefs or your own story to tell you? I'm interested in that.
That's the fear.
That's the fear.
So we compare.
Yeah.
So the self-esteem, low self-esteem with, I think, anybody is because we compare ourselves with others
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is, or what the media is telling us, and all of a sudden we feel less than adequate.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. And that's the other half of the instructing story is I know people suffer from that, number one, and I know everybody's scared to death. Like I said, there are pilots, police officers, surgeons. There's a. I hope these guys aren't listening because I'm not trying to point out, but there's an individual who's like a fourth degree black belt, who's a little too intimidated at the moment to come up and play in front of people.
And they do. And
That's the thing. You're flying a jet.
I used to. Guys.
So in other words, if besides that, I understand. Public speaking, right? It's tough. So knowing where the fear comes from, having lived that for many, many, many years, I know how to get over it. So there's a book called Face Your Fear and Do It Anyway. Are you familiar with that book?
Mm-hmm.
Read it. It's pretty interesting. And the author, I forget her name, breaks down the levels of fear and boils it down to the very last, the ground floor of what fear is based on is we're afraid of the outcome. So what does that mean? Well, I'm afraid, oh boy, that can be anything. I'm afraid I'm going to look bad. I'm afraid I'm going to fail. I'm afraid I'll get laughed at. I'm afraid, what it is that we're afraid of, we can put labels on it, but it's afraid of an outcome one way or the other. So, that's enough to make you not want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm too afraid.
Yep.
So how do we get over fear?
Yep.
And so I think from an instructor's perspective, and even, if I got to go out and play in front of hundreds of people, I've got to deal with my own insecurities and inadequacies, whatever it is, but I got to turn my head around and go out and sing to 500 people or whatever. Mm-hmm. So there's ways of doing it. And I think that's the other half of why I go, hey, why don't you try an open mic? Oh, I could never do that. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And there's usually a little silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had many people just go, I'm too afraid. All right. Yeah, I get it. Okay. Well, and I'll bring it up eventually. But all music is playing guitar, is trying to get over a fear of whatever it is that I've been afraid of. And that's hard to define. Why didn't you play when you were younger? Oh, I was too afraid. Why didn't you become a professional musician? Oh, my dad told me it's a stupid thing. I had to go be a whatever, make real money. How come you didn't become an actor or a dancer? Yeah. Oh, that's just stupid. Why would I do that? That's not real. So do what you love what you do. Mm-hmm. So understanding that that's an underlying current for all of us, every one of us, when somebody comes in that's new, that's the first thing I'm going to do is, who are you? Where are you? What's going on?
Where are you? And it's interesting, this morning, Josie had she's doing some solo she chose to do. She's the only one who chose it out of the class. They're going to some school to do a concert or something. And they're doing it Wednesday, but she has to sing in front of the class today. And she's great, but she has a cough. So she's got a little sickness. And she was crying this morning, like in her mind, exactly what you're talking about. Exactly. Because I'm like, the show must go on. It doesn't, like, do your best. Like, that's all we care about. The class is going to be, like, you can see her conversation in her brain is like, what's going to happen? No. I'm not doing it the way I thought I could do it. Whatever that is. But it's doesn't matter the scenario. We all have it. I have it. Stage, I have it. I sweat like a.
Sure. Whatever it is. I shake.
But you have to. The thing you're saying is you have to take the step.
You got to take the step.
Because then it's going to teach you. I paid to go on stage. I paid to do a 3-minute speech to get evaluated by 3 of my mentors.
That's
in
awesome.
front of 1,000 people. And it was 3-day seminar. And I sweat. They kept calling everybody. I was the last person to be called. I mean, I was like.
Oh, that's just the worst.
It was so horrible.
Can I go on first? Get it over with.
Exactly.
No, we're gonna shoot you last.
But I need to do more of it myself. You're just shining a light to me. Like I'm no different. Like I got my crap, my fear.
Well, until it's part of the experience too.
Yeah.
So until you've experienced that, the fear will be there, and even after that. I mean, we know plenty of professional musicians or whatever who suffer from stage fright or whatever it is. And if I got to do a show, there's a difference between playing a restaurant or a bar when the television's on and the game's on,
Yeah.
and you're in the corner, and then playing a concert to 1,000 people singing your own stuff, and everybody's going.
Yeah.
And that's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So the 2 open mics I host at the moment, one is at Angelo's Pizza on Tony Penna on Mondays,
That's
6
where
to
we
9.
found you.
6
That's
to
where
9.
we found you on Mondays.
On Mondays. And it's a pizza joint. It's a loud pizza joint. Everybody's in there. There's a bar. There's television on. There's 50 people in there, 6 people, and they're all having conversations. And when you get to sing, if you're going to sing your favorite love song that you can't wait to just share with the world, nobody's going to listen. So I discourage that. I say, do something fast and that everybody recognizes. But there are many who tell me, like, I love playing the open mic at Angelo's because there's no pressure. And I say, what do you mean? She goes, well, some people are listening, but not everybody is. So, if I make a mistake.
Yeah, nobody's gonna notice.
So the other one I host is at the Brewhouse Gallery in Lake Park on Thursday nights. And I call it Sitting In. And the way I have that set up, it's just, I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a really nice room. It's a stage with proper stage lighting, and I'll turn all the house lights almost down so the stage light is really all you can see. So all the focus is on this stage, and it's a listening room. So when you get to play, people are the place is quiet, and they're listening to you. If you're not ready for that, I've seen people completely get destroyed by the fact that we're listening or they're listening to me. So I'd rather go play the pizza joint, So there's all those little factors, but the fear involved with I'm going to go do it is what you got to conquer first. What happens after that, you really don't even worry about it. And that takes years and years and years of experience to understand that.
Yeah. It's like
so
the
the advice I tell everybody is when you go up on stage, don't have any goals, don't have any expectations. In fact, when you make a mistake or even if you suck, number one, nobody cares. Number two, nobody really notices except me. And so I tell people that the goal should be you walk on the stage, you start the song, you end the song. That's my goal. What happens in between does not matter because all that is kind of lowering my expectations. And you can always tell how well you did on the drive home. What are you thinking about after you've just played your open mic and you're driving home? You only have you and your mind on that half-hour drive home or whatever it is. And you're going to do one of two things. You're going to go, I can't believe I missed that chord. I sucked. Or you're going to go, yeah, I killed it.
Yeah.
But we're literally setting ourselves up to be destroyed because the one thing that we all expect is I don't want to make a mistake. And when that mistake happens, that's all you're going to think about. So when you go up and your expectation for yourself is start the song and end the song, whatever happens in between does not matter. You're going to have a good ride home. Because when you made that mistake, it's not about making the mistakes. How do you recover? Or how do you laugh it off? Or how do you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's the other end of all this. So I'm in a really unique situation. And it was not by design. I did not design this. I think like I said, I got pulled into teaching, and I'm very grateful for that. But when I look at what I'm doing as far as, I still gig 5-6 times a week in one form or another, and we can talk about that if you like. But as far as instructing is concerned, I have these people who come in to learn how to play the guitar, but I also have an outlet for them to actually go try to do their thing. And some people take off. Like there are many they'll come into an open mic and they'll go, hey, you teach? Oh man, let me set something up. And they coincide with each other. I get a lot of people come in open mic they've never done before, and a year or two later they're in a band and they've outgrown open mics because now they're gigging all the time. That's a real common thing that happens. All of a sudden the 5 or 6 people who are regulars are gone, but a new batch of people have come in, and the same thing's going to happen. It's just like this all the time. Some of them hang out.
It's beautiful.
It's pretty neat.
It's beautiful. Well,
so I'm in a unique situation to be able to have it on both ends. The outlet.
Well, you're giving the opportunity to experience
everything we're talking about.
Whatever their journey,
right.
whatever they're supposed to experience.
You wrote a song? Hey, I got a recording studio. Let's record it. Let's get you on YouTube or get you on Spotify.
Yeah.
Oh, you just wrote a song, you want to play it for? Okay, well, I'll set you up to be the featured performer on a Thursday night at the Brewhouse Gallery. You're going to do a 6-song set all by yourself. And your name's in lights, you're on the billboard, you're it. So here's an opportunity to go, oh my God.
Opportunity. Yep. Yep. It's all.
And then it's what we do with it. So that's what I mean by it's boiled down to fears. How am I going to handle the fear of all this unknown? And
Mhm.
that's everything. That's
It's
on
life.
every level.
Yeah.
This is just
But
one.
part of it's also like you're teaching. I what I think is beautiful is it's an art, and the way you teach is really giving them a whole picture of themselves.
Sure.
And I think, one person can be really good in an arena. I mean, I used to teach billionaires at a golf course, and they'd come over a ball, and I'm like, how do you make a deal for billions of dollars, and you're sitting over here sweating for a golf ball? Like, it's not even talking to you.
It's something new.
But
Right.
because they're not in control of who they are and how they think. Because if they were,
Yep.
or if they put themselves in how they do that arena in all of what they do, they would approach, you know what I mean?
Sure, I know exactly what you mean.
Or the more you stretch yourself,
Sure.
you're gonna start to own yourself in all what you do. Like, no,
Exactly.
this is how we do it.
It's
Because I hear it
it's
in your
immediately
language.
transferable to
It's
everything.
so beautiful. It's all
So
about a sample.
all of a sudden, I've got a new bunch of friends. I'm playing out.
yeah.
I'm doing this. Oh, now my home life's a little better because I'm happier and I'm
Yeah.
succeeding and all these. So from that perspective, it's transferable.
Yeah.
But that billionaire spent his life working on that, and he's only been playing golf for 2 years, and he only gets the weekends. So if he were able to put that time into it, so
time, but also like knowing you started
Sure.
from nothing, like how
Right.
you started your company, you had to start somewhere, so
Right.
you had to have the courage to do. Like, my point is, it's not being the successful.
it's
person.
the courage to be able to do it.
Yes, knowing you can figure it out.
Sure.
Knowing it takes time, patience, da 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 da. But like, they get so frustrated, and that's the thing I
Right.
think is like not funny, but like how they can be so smart at one thing, and then like you did it there. You took a chance there.
Sure.
You're not looking at like, oh, that business deal isn't going to go.
Well, unfortunately, they're probably teeing up the ball thinking exactly that. I mean, my favorite line is, listen, I'm good at what I do, but if you hired me to work with you tomorrow,
true.
you'd fire me the day after.
Of course,
'Cause I'm not going to figure it out.
Of course. I love all this conversation. I'm like, who's your biggest inspirational, someone who made an imprint on you?
I had a teacher in 10th grade. He was my English teacher named Ron Cavanaugh, and he was one of those guys. He was one of those mentors. And we had an immediate connection, and I had him through high school, and we became friends afterwards. And his whole perspective was, there's magic, and you need to tap into the magic and make the magic happen. Well, how do you do that? That part's up to you to figure out. But life is magical. You got to go figure out where that magic is. So that was huge, and he was the one that kind of got me to not feel so bad about all the pressure my dad was getting. He was, don't listen to your father. I'm sorry to say it that way, but do what you want to do. I'm like, okay, how do I do it?
Yeah.
That's up to you.
Yeah, but sometimes we need that someone to highlight something, to believe in you, or he said magic. Sure. I think that's one thing I see even with Josie's friends, or what I didn't have for 30 years. I was a great athlete, but I didn't have that coach that goes, I was 8th in the nation, but it doesn't matter, because I had left so much untapped talent.
Sure.
Because I didn't believe in myself. And then I didn't have coaches that were like, you're better than what you're showing. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
What's an example of the coolest imprint you've made on someone? Because you obviously make an imprint on so many people.
I don't know. Humbly answering a question this way, I'm so incredibly fortunate that and this comes from my dad too, so I'll put it in perspective. When we were all in our late teens and early 20s, we'd go out, my dad, we'd be out singing, and there would be kids that he coached when they were little that would come up to him and go, you made the biggest impact in my life. If it were not for you, I would never be. And he was like, what'd I do? I didn't do anything. And he didn't understand. Excuse me. He didn't understand the impact that he had. He was just a coach that said, you can do it. You can do it. And he didn't see what it was actually doing from the positive perspective. So it always caught him off guard. And we were like, of course they're going to say that to you. Don't you understand what you did for these kids, for this town? He's like, no, I just did my thing. So humbly answering your question, I've been very fortunate to have people say some extremely kind and kind words. But I
I get it.
yeah.
I get it. Because I'm not. Anyway. And most people I interview are so humble, they don't think like that. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Sure.
not doing it for that reason. You're not even thinking, oh, yeah, that person. Like, it's,
But I see a lot of things, and I get thanked for a lot of
course
things
you do. Of course.
that are just unintentional. But
You're just being you.
yeah, I
You're
guess.
being you. Three characteristics that make you you. Why people come to you. Why
Number one, I listen, and I think I'm genuinely interested in people. Same reason you are. It's fascinating. Everybody has this amazing story. And the other half of listening is how often when you were younger, you would go to a teacher or whoever is or anybody and go, what should I do with my life? And all they wanted to do is tell you what you should be doing in your life. And like this one individual I spoke with, Ron Cavanaugh, when I approached him like that, he was like, what do you want to do? And he was the only one that ever said that. He goes, what's your dream? What do you mean, what's your dream? He goes, what's your dream? You can create any life you want. What do you want it to look like? And it wasn't until my mid-20s and 30s when I went, oh! And at that point, I had already been doing it. It was just a rocky road. I wanted to be a musician, and I succeeded in doing that. It just wasn't a very comfortable thing. So that's why I uprooted, and I had to do it another way. But so that's been something that I try to impart on everybody. It's like, what do you want to do? You create that. Yeah. So I don't know if there's a 2 and a 3, but I think listening is the number one thing that I'm been told I'm genuinely doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not conscious of it. I'm just.
The other thing I hear you just saying in that creation dream, and I'm big into that. It doesn't matter your age. Like,
No,
that's what I
my
hear.
God.
Like the 82-year-old, or like that's the magic.
That's
it's like
the magic.
It's like you can reinvent yourself any time of your life, and don't wait. If something's calling you to do something,
do it.
Do it. Like,
And I've seen that 1,000. Sorry, I got out.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
The witnessing that, and I think that's where a lot of compliments come from. It's like, I couldn't believe that I did it. Like, yeah.
Okay, couple more quickies.
Sure.
Favorite artist?
Favorite artist?
Do you have a favorite artist? I mean, you obviously have a ton of artists, but or maybe genre, or like what's your go-to? There's so many. Okay.
So vast.
Or maybe like something I wouldn't know. Somebody I wouldn't know. Or
Andy Williams.
Okay.
Love Andy Williams.
And hardest part about hardest part of the journey that you've been on, that you like, the struggle that you had to go through, like what comes to mind? Like,
well, I've missed a few soccer games because I work at night, but I've had my days off. So my wife and I spend a lot of time during the day because my whole family, we all work at night. We're all restaurant business or whatever. Okay. But that said, the Friday night soccer games, I'd have to go to a gig. So I missed a few of those. So that's been rough. But honestly, I'm one of those guys who has trouble saying no. And down here, there was a point in time 10, 12 years ago that my band would play 3-4 nights a week, and I'd be playing the other 5. So I'd play like 9, 10 gigs sometimes a week because the phone would ring and you just play. So, and not bragging, I remember, like, this is just the way it is down here. You can make a living doing this. Like, one of my peers, I remember on Facebook, said, hey, had a good year. I played, like, I think 92 gigs. And I went, wow, that's a lot of work. And I went, wait a minute. And I looked at my calendar, and I played 421 gigs that year. Wow. It was just nuts. But and again, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but that's what it's like down here. You can make a living and and work a lot down here. I have a friend who one month, it was a 30-day month. He gigged 39 times.
Amazing.
Yeah, so
Amazing.
I have trouble saying no.
Okay, so that's the struggle.
So I can. It gets tiring.
You're wanted. What would you say the imprint, like if you, in one sentence, what you want to leave on Jupiter area, the world, whatever what's the imprint you want to be? If someone said, Gary Frost, he's this kind of guy, or whatever.
One that somebody who's encouraging and tries to relate the idea of do what you love what you do.
Yeah.
So you can do it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I see, my instinct knows, because when your message is so powerful.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you do gigs and you teach all the time. And this is I've interviewed a lot of Josie's people that have helped her in different things, theater and her piano teacher. I didn't even know what they like. That's the thing, you're teaching, but people, do they really know your whole story, or not the whole story, but like your philosophy? Or
sure.
And I love it. I think
Thanks.
it's important to share.
Yeah.
And how can they reach you, or how can they find out where your gigs are and learn about?
I have a website, GaryFrostMusic.com, that's got my calendar and everything on there. And it's probably easier if you're on Facebook. I usually post my weekend, what's going to be going on the weekend. And then I teach at Jupiter Academy of Music. It's off of Commerce, behind Home Depot and near Walmart, in that area.
Well, thank you for coming on Journey to June.
Thank you, Wendy.
We call it soul instigator, like you're instigating your soul, but it's
you
beautiful.
can do it.
You can do it, and we all have it. Like I love it. I
Thanks.
love what you shared.
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me. That was a lot of fun.
So fun. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Journey to June. You can find us on any of the platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We're here to help people ignite what's inside of them. So if you are feeling off, if you are feeling like you want more, if you're feeling exhausted and burnt out, it's a sign to take a pause. And there's lots of ways we at Live Your June help our clients. And one is podcast for you to listen to. We also have a email that shares some insight about tools and different things we experience in the week that we learn from. And then also we do a retreat. Every spring and fall, we do a Solsticator retreat. It's amazing 4-day experience where you really get to shut off the world and reconnect to yourself. So check it out on our website, liveyourjune.com, or reach out to us on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm Wendy Basilico. We look forward to hearing from you.